Shalom, shalom. Banner on here, man. First and foremost, Shabbat Shalom to all of my Saturday Sabbath keepers. Shalom. Let me see. Colin, man. So another Shabbat lesson. Didn't get on last night, but we're gonna get on here through the power and spirit of the Most High God by way of His Son. Right. The title of the lesson is "Get Your House in Order." Get your house in order. And we're going to talk about a few aspects of this phrase. I think we've all heard this term, uh, whether you've been in the truth or whether you were in Christianity. You've heard this shalom, King, or whether you heard whether you heard this in Christianity. You probably heard this phrase. We grew up on a song. Shout out to my parents. Shout out to my grandparents, man. It's the old song, man. You probably heard of it. Get your house in order. Oh, do it today. And we're just gonna move in the spirit here, right? Got a couple precepts. Shalom to the brother Azrael on the screen, man. He looked kind of tired, man. Like the brother just kind of roll over on this rest day.
Shalom. Couldn't go to sleep last night, man. Just watching lessons. I didn't go to sleep till like 4.
All praises. All praises, man. Sleep is given to the weary. You know what I'm saying? But first and foremost, man, as we salute in, man, we always give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Who sent his son to be a salvation for the nation, right? The nation of Israel, that is, who we can generally see as the so called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But we do realize that there are speckled bird out there, and we have been scattered to the four corners of the earth into all nations, man. Without that being said, let's get into the lesson. Get your house in order. Let me put this on the screen really fast. I'm so surprised, man. I'm surprised it ain't. What's the name, man? It's really tripping right now. Hold up. I don't even know which page that is. It's crazy. Oh, that's wild. It's lucky. Ah, man. Got me working on the spirit of patience right now, bro. Shit. Here we go. So we're going to start off with this chapter right here. Book of Isaiah, chapter 38, and verse number 1.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 38 and verse 1. In those days was Hezekiah sick unto death. And Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, came unto him and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, set thine house in order, for thou shalt die and not live.
Man. We as men, we all are set before death. What's the scripture? I can vaguely remember right now, man. It's a classic scripture. Every man is appointed to die, right? Wants to die. So we all have death coming for us. And what is it? What's important for us to do before we die? Can you read that last part again for me?
Thus saith the Lord, set thine house in order, for thou shalt die and not live.
Man, it's important that we set our houses in order before we die. We have a set amount of time, allotted amount of time to get our house in order before we die. Because once we die, man, there's no going back. There's no like The Rock said, there's no sequel, right? You only get one life. Drake said you only live once, right? But on the right hand side of that, you only live once. You got to make it count, right? Because that's what you're gonna be judged upon, right? The life that you live. So you have to set your house in order. You have to set your life in order, right? This is gonna be our staple precept for today, but we're gonna jump into three aspects of what it means to um, get your house in order. The first aspect we're gonna go over is personal, right? How do you set your life, your how do you get your house in order? And we're just talking about self right now. Self, self. We're gonna go to the scripture in First Thessalonians. Let's see here. Dang, man, I'm tripping. Forgot First Thessalonians was in the New Testament. First Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 3. We're gonna start at 3. We're gonna read to about verse 8, I believe. Let's see, right here, starting at verse 3.
First Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 3. For this is the will of God, even your sanctification, that ye should abstain from fornication, that every one of you should know how to possess his vessel in sanctification and honor.
Right, man. So what does it mean to get your house in order personally, right? Having that self-awareness of getting your house in order. Read that last part again. That every man should what?
That every one of you should know how to possess his vessel in sanctification and honor.
You have to know how to possess your vessel with sanctification and honor. And of course, the only way you're gonna know how to do that is through the wisdom and spirit of the Most High, which He gave us His word, right? He's lost statutes and commandments. Let me see something um, right here. Go ahead and read the next verse for me.
Not in the lust of concupiscence, even as the Gentiles which know not God.
Right. Keep reading.
That no man go beyond and defraud his brother in any matter, because that the Lord is the avenger of all such, as we also have forewarned you and testified.
Right, man. Let's see here. You can read verse number 7 too.
For God hath not called us unto uncleanness, but unto holiness.
Right. So that's what it means to. That's what it means. What's your brother say? Can you read that for me?
As it is appointed unto Salakia, Hebrews 9:27, as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment.
God, man, you are appointed once to die, and before you die, just like they told King Hezekiah, you have to set that house in order. So before you die, like verse number 7 says, right? You want to be found clean and holy, right? You want to be found set apart when you get put into the dirt. Because if you're not found set apart when you get put into the dirt, it's too late, man. Right? You waited too long. I'm gonna go to Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 23. Still on self-awareness, still on what it means to get your house in order personally. I got some classic scriptures about to come out too, man. So if you guys haven't heard of these before or anything, you can take note and write them down. This is Proverbs chapter 23 and verse number 7. Hold up. Yeah. Oh yeah. We can go here.
Proverbs 23 and verse number 7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee.
Right, man. So, for as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And we all know that our heart is our minds, right? You know that phrase in the world where it says, you are what you eat, right? You eat McDonald's, you're going to end up feeling like McDonald's, right? You're going to end up looking like McDonald's. What does that look like? Sloppy, right? But so as a man thinketh, so in his heart, so is he, right? So when we get our hearts in order, I brought this scripture out to say it's not only advised that you get physically circumcised, but your heart needs to be circumcised as well. This is what it means to be, to clean out your house, right? To get your house in order, you got to have a circumcised heart within, you know. And we talk about this all the time. Um, it's really deeper than what it is. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go there really quick, just so we can have it on the screen while we talk about this. I think it's Deuteronomy 4 and 6. Where is it? Might be 6 and 4. The one talking about circumcised therefore your heart might be 6 and 4. Slacky. Nah, I'm tripping. I think it's in chapter 10. Right here. Verse 16. This is Deuteronomy 10 and 16. Salaki. Can you read that for me? And I'll touch on it real quick.
Deuteronomy 10 and 16. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked.
Right, man. So we got to circumcise the foreskin of our heart, and we can't be stiff-necked, meaning we can't be stubborn. This is deeper than the law, right? A lot of times, Christians be saying, "Hey, man, it's deeper than the law," and it is. Not only do you have to keep these law, statutes, and commandments, man, you have to make sense of the law, statutes, and commandments. With all that getting, you have to get understanding, right? The understanding is departing from evil, and evil can be more than just um, transgressing the law. Evil can be being a stumbling block unto your neighbor, to your brother, your sister, right? Paul talks about it all the time. He said, "The stuff that I know that I'm able to do, I don't do it because I know it would be a stumbling block to my brothers and my sisters, right?" And that's what it means to be circumcised in the heart. Not only to do those things that are obedient to the Most High, but do those things that are becoming and that are beneficial for your people, your nation, the ones that are around you, right? And beneficial for you. What's an example of that? If you have trouble with alcohol, right? Even though drinking wine and strong drink is permissible at times, right? Being circumcised in the heart is saying, "Hey, I know my house. To get my house in order, I have to no more drink strong drink at all. I can't drink wine. I know what it does to me, right? That's being circumcised in the heart, coming to grips with who you are as a person. If you know, hey, look, let's see, you're giving in to women, right? When you get with a woman, as far as relationship wise, you it's really hard for you to really put your foot down on certain things, right? And your woman kind of running you, and you might see through the scriptures that it's permissible to have multiple wives or something like that, right? You have to understand, especially in this day and time, right? You got to understand that those things aren't expedient, not only for you, for a lot of people, right? And so the being circumcised in the heart is knowing you and what sets you off, knowing you and how to set yourself apart from the evilness that's within you, the demons that are attached to you, right? We go over the scripture all the time, and it's a classic, right? And it says, "All things are lawful for me, but not all things are expedient." You have to work. You have to do the things that are expedient unto you, and even if it's lawful, if it's not expedient unto you, you got to get rid of it. This is what it means to get your house in order personally and to circumcise your heart. Right? It's deeper than the most. It's deeper than the law. You have to internalize that law.
And being circumcised in the heart, man, is just a eloquent way to say it's the inside that matters. You know what I'm saying? When you circumcise in the heart, uh, you're gonna evaluate different situations differently, right? And also, it's not about the outside appearance. There's a lot of brothers who are only Israelites for real on social media and on the Sabbath day, but throughout their work week, throughout their regular week, they're not Israelites. They talk about folly and madness all the time. They don't wear their fringes, right? And these things are compared. These things are in the law, right? They uh, they fellowship with darkness and make excuses for it, right? But come Sabbath day or come a holy day or a feast day, then for the outside appearance, they'll take that picture and upload it to social media. They'll make a lesson. They'll put on 4 sets of fringes at the same time. They'll do these things and it kind of makes them feel good because it's the outside that matters to them. They're not circumcised in their heart, right? You got to examine yourself daily, and when you examine yourself daily, you got to say, am I an Israelite? Am I acting the part that I'm supposed to act? Right? It says, examine yourself, man, every day. So that means not just the holy days, not just the days where you're going to be around other Israelites, other brothers and sisters, but if you're circumcised in the heart, you're going, even if you're by yourself in a cave, you're going to be set apart. Even when nobody can see you, you're going to be set apart. And that's what being circumcised in the heart is, man.
Right. When we can sum all that up in what's called self-discipline. Self-discipline, man. Everybody has to have self-discipline. You know yourself better than anybody else, right? You know what makes you go off. Don't do it, bro. Right? You know what happens if you stay on the internet too long and you have a lust problem. You might, go to some sticky websites that you don't need to go to, right? You know what makes you tick. So if that's what makes you tick, hey, look, get off of the internet at a certain time, right? The sister's dropping some fire right now, and it's almost like she's in my lesson planner. You know what I'm saying? I got a lot of those precepts written down. We're gonna go into it. The sister moves with the spirit.
Salaki, I wanted to say something too. When we think about physical circumcision, man, even the physical circumcision is easy for us. It would be easy for somebody to get by, especially in today's time. Nobody's walking around naked, right? You could tell people that you're circumcised and actually not be circumcised. The only person would know is if somebody saw you without your clothes, right? So if you can get by in the physical, that's even more telling because we don't, right? I had posted a video on my page, right, of a brother saying, hey, look, just because something I said brought you into the truth, you don't know me, right? Believe the words that I'm telling you and you apply that to your life and to your heart, but don't, you know what I'm saying, lift me up because you don't know where my heart lies. And that's the thing, man. Being circumcised in the heart is something, it's something you see through people's day-to-day actions. And a lot of times we're not living with each other day to day. We're not in community with each other like we once was back in the time of in antiquity, right? So I say that to say, man, being circumcised of the heart, man, that's a you thing. That's an integrity thing, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, this is the last thing I'll say. A lot of times, the brothers comparing this to getting your house in order. A lot of times, nobody knows what goes on in your house because you're gonna keep all your flaws that's going on in your house, your arguments that's going on in your house to yourself. You're gonna keep all the disobedience and the violence, all that stuff in your house. Nobody knows what goes on in your house because you're not advertising that, right? But
That's why a lot of people. That's why a lot of people, go to therapy and things of that nature, man. You have in your vessel, this vessel that you live in, right? That the Most High put your soul in. This is your house, right? And within this vessel, man, a lot of chaos be going on, man. You go through a lot of stress every day, a lot of frustration, a lot of thoughts be going through your head and whatnot, right? You battling with your own demons, right? And you gotta set that right, And like the brother's saying, people can't tell what's going on in your house, but you know what's going on in your house. It's up to you to have that self-discipline and to have that integrity and to get things done within your house. Make sure you mopping the floors in this vessel. Make sure you taking out the trash in this vessel, right? Spiritually now, because we're talking about self-awareness and just personally, but you got to make sure these things are done, man. If not, what happens when you ride past a house, man, and the grass isn't cut, right? And trash piling up outside, man. We were talking about it last night, man. Diseases are gonna come, right? Things are gonna fester. You're gonna become a reproach. It's the same thing, man. You got to get your house in order, right? It's not only good to look good on the outside, but you got to look good on the inside too. We went over this last night as well, or the night before last night, right? You had anything else on that before we get into this next one?
nah,
Con, this is Matthew chapter 7. And we're going to start at verse 3 and we're going to read down to verse 5, man. This is a mighty one right here as well. This is a classic.
Matthew chapter You said 3.
Matthew chapter 7, verse 3.
Matthew chapter 7 and verse 3. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considereth not the beam that is in thine own eye?
Right, man. What is it saying? Before you try to get anybody else right, you have to make sure you are right. Right? Hey man, a lot, and what happens is we come into this truth and we forget, even when we come into this truth, we still have demons we have to take care of. We still got trash we got to take out. But as soon as we come into this truth, we off rip go into teaching mode. Oh, I got to teach somebody about this. Oh, I got to tell somebody about themselves, right? You have to understand, hey, look, before you can get somebody else right, you gotta be right, because you don't want to look like a hypocrite. And we about to get into that hypocriticism. That's a word, right?
Hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy, kind, right? Over here making up words and stuff. Reverse, no, but just with the verse number 3 is saying, hey, look, man, you trying to clear somebody else's eye up, right? And there's a bigger thing in your eye, and this can come back and bite you in the butt, right? And it happens to a lot of us in the truth. It happens to a lot of us in the truth. We go out, we come into this truth, right? And then as soon as we get in this truth, we want to start telling people what to do, telling people what they can't do. And then we've seen it happen many a times. You know what the people of the world, their response is? You telling me do X, Y, and Z, but you got X, Y, and Z going on, right? You have to get your personal house in order first, right? Shalom to the brother Yeshai. Can you read verse number 4 for me, brother Azrael?
Shalom.
Uh, um, verse 4. Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, he pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye?
Come on, man. Just kind of reiterating what verse number 3 said. How can you do that? Verse
If I
number
can say
5.
something too, a lot of brothers a lot of brothers and sisters are afraid to share the gospel on their social medias, or they're afraid to go to a street corner and preach, or they're afraid to share the gospel in general, because they know they're not circumcised in their heart yet. They know that they feel unworthy to push the gospel, right? A lot of people also, they're afraid to do those things. Why? Because of their past, right? But I'm here to encourage you that you are a new creature in Christ, right? And if you truly changed and got that mote out of your eye, it doesn't matter if somebody brings it back up. Deal with it, acknowledge it, respond, and move on, right? For the betterment, right? They can't trap you or make you fearful to spread the gospel because of what you used to do. If that happened, we wouldn't have half of the New Testament, because Paul would have been too afraid to share the gospel, right? Even I could say, for example, I'll pull out a real life example. Brothers all went to the same college on this live, and when we had a homecoming, right? We're in the truth now. We had a homecoming, and now we still did it now, walking to the homecoming to evangelize and bring out the word, street teach, hold camp, whatever have you, right? You know, the conversation comes up, man, what if so-and-so come up on me? What if this girl that I used to talk to come up on me? What if this dude that I had beef with come up on me while we're recording, right? And this passage is saying, hey, guess what? You can correct that sister. You can correct that brother, as long as you dealt with yourself first. So I'm just using this as an exhortation, a little insert into this lesson, an exhortation that you are a new creature, right? And once you circumcise your heart, once you circumcise yourself, right, you're able to help somebody else get circumcised, right? So as long as that beam is out of your eye, you can pull that mote out of somebody else's eye. This is not saying that you can't judge somebody. It's just saying take care of self first.
Come on, man. That's a mighty point, because we also got to realize, man, when that is something that typically happens. People are gonna spit back in your face, and they're gonna bring up that old man all the time. The key point of it all is you have to have been setting that separation from that old man for a minute before and people have to have seen that. People have to have seen your conversion before you go out there and start telling them what to do, right? That's the only way you can be effective, if people can see that separation, right? You know, there's songs out there where it says, "Hey, I don't walk like I used to walk no more. I don't talk like I used to talk no more, right? I don't go to the same places that I used to go no more." People have to see that, right? People have to see you get your life in order, get your house in order to respect what you're saying to them. And that's just a staple. Should it be like that? Probably not. But that's how it is. You have to set thine house in order. Talking about your vessel, your self being. You have to set yourself in order before you start going out there trying to tell people and hoop and hollering what to do. It's not going to work like that. People listen to people with much wisdom and much experience. I'm not going to listen to somebody. I'm not. I played basketball. I'm not going to listen to somebody and take advice from somebody that never played basketball. Right? The worst basketball coaches out there never played basketball a day in their life. Right? There was a coach back home. Back home, went to said high school that I went to. Right? I went to two high schools, so I'm not going to drop names or anything like that, but we had a coach, man, and nobody respected him at one of these high schools because he ain't never played basketball like past middle school, right? How you gonna tell us how to play basketball and you didn't even get no tick, you didn't get no playing time, right? People listen to people with much experience and
That
much
was
wisdom.
that was slick at both high schools, ain't it?
Slick at both, right? Now I won't get into it. But you know, but you gotta understand, bruh, right? People don't listen to people that they don't see things happening for, right? They don't. Hey, I didn't see the last time I saw you. You was at the strip club, bruh, and I haven't seen nothing different. You can't tell me nothing. You have to make that. You have to make that separation, man. You have to set that house in order before you go out and do these things. We can't be so eager to get out there and start doing these things, man. I know it seems fun. I know we're passionate about it, but we have to take the right precautions, right? There's a brother at said camp, um, Sakari camp, and you know, some of his brothers they hit the ground running. He said he'll tell you all the time, man. Brother Deacon, man, he was like, man, when I first came into the truth, I waited a whole what was like a year and a half. No, I think he said more than that. I think he said a whole 2 years or something like that before I even tried to teach anyone, right? Because you got to make sure you understand this thing, and you got to make sure your house is in order, right? If the brother could read verse number 5 for me, right? It's gonna tie it all together right here.
If I could say something too, like the
Con.
brother said, he said he waited a whole year. You know, brothers before brother, all of the brothers that you see on here, it was more of us. But before we went out and started teaching, man, we really took our time. And the question came up amongst us: are we ready yet? Um, are we sure we're doing this decent and in order? A lot of people's like, I don't want to get confounded when I go out there, X, Y, and Z. So you do have to take time, man, and really evaluate and self-examine yourself first and foremost before you start preaching this word, because the Most High, if you're not living this word, the Most High God will eventually confound you, right? And you don't want to be cut like that because it hurts, right? But Salakia, uh, is this still Matthew 7?
Uh, Con.
Matthew 7:5, thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye.
Con, man. Like the brother was saying, man, don't be a hypocrite. You can't be a hypocrite and try to teach, bro. I'm sorry, you can't be a hypocrite and try to reach out to somebody and tell them what to do. What's the instructions for us? First, cast out the beam in thy own eye. What is it saying? First, get your house in order first, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote of the brother's eye, right? Why is it saying then you should be seeing clearly? Because a lot of times, a lot of brothers rebuke people for things that aren't even a sin. A lot of times people start to rebuke people and don't even understand the situation that that person is in. They don't even understand how to move decent and in order. They don't understand practicality, right? So get your house in order first. Make sure you can see clearly first, and then you'll be able to clearly and righteously judge your neighbor, your brother, and your sister, right?
Right?
That's
Because
the
check
point
this
that
out.
I'm trying to get to, right?
Check this out. A lot of brothers and sisters that we evangelize to or talk to about this truth, they're always observing. They're always listening. They're always looking, right? and they will cut you. And they don't even mean to cut you. When I say cut you, I mean like cut you to the heart. Like they will confound you. Two examples real quick. You could be talking to some, and look, and this is a lesson to show that, hey, look, all sin is a sin. If it's a transgression against God's law, it's a transgression against God's law. You could be teaching something. You could go out to eat with a brother, right? And it might not be the place that you're supposed to be in, and they might be serving abominable food. Now you can't break open the Bible and show this brother all the truth about who you are, X, Y, and Z, and you got a shrimp basket, right? Because guess what? That brother you talking to or that sister you talking to, they might know about Leviticus 11, and they'll say, "Well, why are you eating this if you're preaching this?" Or a brother might say, "So why y'all wear those fringes? I don't see you wearing those fringes. That's y'all, right?" And what are you gonna say? Yeah, we are commanded to wear them, but what you gonna say, right? You gotta make sure that if you're bringing out the truth of this Bible, you're living this Bible out to the fullest. And the only way you can do that is being circumcised of the heart, right?
Man.
You gotta
be seen like a hypocrite.
don't be a hypocrite. You gotta make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's, because the Most High God will pull your card by somebody that doesn't even know the Bible, and you like, dang, and it'll be that reminder, right? The Most High God not killing nobody no more, but it'll be that reminder, like, dang, I guess if I'm preaching this, I should be doing everything that's contained in this.
Hey, check this out. Because while you worried about moving through the spirit, right, and you just doing the things that your spirit feels led to do, right? We call this moving like a Christian, but while you're moving through the spirit and you're trying to teach somebody the principles and the standards of the Bible, you don't understand the people that's not in this truth, the people that's not attached to this Bible, they think in a way that is not it's
elementary.
parallel to you. It's elementary and it's not parallel to you, right? And I like elementary. I like the water for that. They think in an elementary way. Think about it. When you try to teach a kid something, they got a million questions. Well, why? Right? The green is grass, but why is the green grass? Why can't it be red? Right? They ask you questions to make you think, right? Same thing with this Bible, right? You might tell a brother, hey, look, so and so be wearing fringes. How come you don't be wearing fringes? Right? Don't y'all believe the same thing? Well, yeah, brother, but my spirit don't really feel led to wear fringes. And no, bro, you can't be a hypocrite when it comes to this Bible, right? The brother say, hey, look, man, he should never be saying, hey, why don't you wear fringes like that? You don't believe in, I thought y'all believe in the same thing. He should never say that. His thing should be, why should we wear fringes? You got to ask these questions, man. One thing I liked about being in a fraternity, it taught me that the things that I believe I have to know, right? There's another phrase that says, roughly paraphrasing, it says, if you love something, you'll be ready to defend it, but you can't defend it if you don't know it, right? So with that being said, that's one principle that they taught us in the fraternity is that, hey, look, if you're gonna wear this shirt with this symbol on it, you got to know everything about it. Same thing with this truth, right? It's not a requirement to know everything about it, right? But it'll benefit you, right? Why? Because it will get your house in order. It will help circumcise your heart. I guarantee, hey man, if you're watching this and you're not technically in the truth, or you're not, into being an Israelite or anything like that, next time you see an Israelite, ask them why they wear fringes. They should be able to give you an answer. I like to believe a lot of people don't even know why. They just got them on.
Salakia too. This Bible is like orientation, right? A lot of people, you can get by orientation and still function in a job, right? But eventually it's going to come back to bite you if you was not paying attention or if you did not learn an orientation. For example, I've been in this job that I'm in right now for about 4 months, right? We had an orientation. Everybody, when you get hired at a new job, you have an orientation, right? Sometimes brothers' orientation is boring, sisters' orientation is boring, and now a lot of it's virtual. So you do virtual orientations, or you sit in a big what are those auditorium, right? And you're falling asleep. You got to go to the bathroom, got to go to the vending machine, right? You're not paying attention. But when it comes time for your job role, right? If I didn't pay attention in orientation, if I call a customer because I'm on the phones, if I call a customer, right, and they ask me a question about my role and my job, and I don't know it, they're gonna think, well, this job is terrible. Their employees don't even know what's going on at their job. They don't even know their job. And that's how people are gonna look at you as a hypocrite if you're claiming to believe in the Bible, but you're not living it. You're not circumcised in the heart. If your house is not in order, right? You gotta get your house in order.
God, man, this is how we clean up our house daily, man. You know, when we was growing up, our mom used to set a list of chores everywhere around the house, right? Just to remind us, this Bible is our list of chores. And when somebody comes and like when my mom comes and she said, "Hey, why I had this on the list? Why did y'all not do it?" Same thing the Most High God's gonna do, and then also it's the same thing these people that you're trying to teach is gonna do. Hey, the Bible says y'all not supposed to be doing this. Why do you do it, right? Or the same thing, right? Like, why do y'all wear those fringes, right? You should be wearing your fringes, brother. Like, you shouldn't have to tell somebody, yeah, we're commanded to do it, but you see, I don't got them on, so it's not that important. No, bro. It's brother Yeshai went into it the other day. You cannot be lukewarm. You got to be all in, right? Even if you don't got your fringes on, you know what your response should be? Yeah, brother, I'm falling short right there. I need to go put some on, right? Instead of trying to justify your folly, right? We're going to go to the Philippians chapter 2 and verse number 12. This is the last verse I have for the aspect of self-awareness, getting yourself and your vessel and your personal house in order, right? It's a mighty scripture. Shout out to the sister, man. She was in my lesson planner for this one too. We're gonna go into it. It's a mighty precept. If you haven't got it before, write it down for sure.
Philippians 2 and verse 12. Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only.
Stop right there, right? And so, hey, look, man. He's saying, hey, look, you've obeyed me while I was with you, right? That's easy to do, right? You keep reading.
Not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence.
Even in my absence, right? You had the self-discipline, you had the self-awareness, the integrity enough to keep being obedient, right? You had the self-discipline to always to keep your house in order and keep your house clean even when I wasn't there. We went into this not the other day, right? When you get a family, man, you get your own crib, you get your own house, whether that be a house, apartment, townhome, whatever, right? You want your house to always be clean. We were talking about this the other day. We are like, man, we want to get to the point where, you know, anybody can come over and, you know, we don't have to turn nobody away. The house should always be spotless, right? So we can welcome anybody at any time, even if it is spontaneous, right? You don't want to be that brother or sister where, you know, people want to come over and they can't because your house is messed up, right? We all got to do a better job of that. And, you know, it might sound like I'm talking physically right here, but I'm talking about spiritually, right? A brother or sister should always be able to depend on you, right? That's why the Bible really encourages sobriety, right? Because anytime a brother needs you, right, you should be able to pick up that phone and be sober enough to give him good counsel, good judgment, right? Be there for him, right? You don't want nobody to catch you into any folly, right? Keep reading for me. Work out your what?
Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling.
We all have to work out our own salvation, right? Hey, I like this scripture because, hey, look, man, you can't just rely on your husband. You can't just rely on your wife. Kids, you can't just rely on your parents. There's so many kids out there on the college campus that'll say, hey, yeah, I'm straight. My dad's a preacher. My dad's a pastor. Oh, yeah, my mom's a bishop. That's madness, first of all. But you can't rely on that because we all have to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling, It's on us individually, bruh. When the books get laid open, you're getting judged. You can't have somebody standing on your father's not gonna be by your side while you get judged, right? Taking one for the team. No, bruh. Everybody has to find their own salvation and work towards it with fear and with trembling, man. Getting your house in order. That's the first aspect I got. We're gonna move into the second aspect. Um, brothers get
Brothers always,
huh?
brothers always. I said brothers and sisters always use that excuse.
Con.
You know what I'm
Hey,
saying? You would just be, brother. You got a second to talk about the Bible, bro? My like you said, my aunt is a bishop, bro. I'm good. I'm straight on it. That doesn't make any sense.
hey, if I can, before you, well, I guess you're already there now. I wanted to pull out a precept, but I'll just read it from my phone. This is dang,
What you want me to prove?
this is Hebrews, chapter 5. Wait, did y'all already go into this Hebrews 5 and 12?
I think did brother Elder Uriah bring that up?
He went to Hebrews 9:27.
Okay.
This is Hebrews chapter 5 and verse number 12, and it says, "For when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God." Right? Because we're talking about, like I said, the last precept of self-awareness. In order for there's sometimes you gotta be taught again, right? Because why? It says, "And are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat," right? Some of us, we have to continue to work to get our house in order, because you might think that you're ready to do something. You might think that you're skillful with the meat, right? But you're not ready for it yet, right? Your teeth ain't grown in all the way yet. You ain't able to digest it. You have things that you have to work on even with yourself. So therefore, hey, look, sometimes when it's time for you to be a teacher, hey, somebody got to teach you again. They got to go like to Nehemiah 8:8, and somebody has to give you the sense, you know what I'm saying, of what the word is saying, right? In the spiritual sense, that equates to self-awareness, because, like you say, sometimes everybody ain't always ready. Like your brother said, Deacon took a year and a half before he came in and started edifying people. And a lot of brothers, they take their time to make sure that before they go out and try to lead our people, they're making sure that, everything with me and mine is straight, right? Because I don't want to be a hypocrite either. I got to make sure me and mine is straight. So I just wanted to bring that out to show kind of like a similitude, right, about self-awareness. Sometimes, hey, you jump into this thing, you just got to be retaught.
Come on, man. That's a mighty point. Mighty point, man. I like where it says the time where you ought to be teachers. That's why when we come into this truth, we get so passionate about trying to spread it immediately.
Right.
We ought to be teachers at that time, man. A lot of us wake up, we're, in our 20s and our 30s and whatnot, and we want to be able to be that guidance for our children, our family members, our friends. But at that time, we got to be taught again first, man. We got to have some patience about it. And again, patience, man. The fruits of the spirit, right? Another great passage of how to get your house in order and how to take care of that self discipline. I got the wrong precept down, bro. Maybe I'm in Second Timothy. No, what in the world? Yo,
What you looking for? The paraphrase?
it's madness because
I don't think it's madness because it's a precept. Nah, just messing with
nah, cause check it out. I didn't compare. I didn't. I was writing down precepts, but
you. 2 Timothy 3. You're in First Timothy.
I know that's First Timothy.
Yeah, click on the arrow. Now you can say
Yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah, but it's still not going to what I need. Cause supposed maybe it's a different chapter. Hold up.
You know the paraphrase?
Nah, I don't. I was just writing down precepts last night. I forgot to write down a paraphrase next to it. Let me see something though, because it might be a different chapter. No, this is short. Maybe it was in four. No, It's like it.
Yeah, well, hey, while y'all with us on this intercession, man, we finna go through the Timothy's, man, chapter by chapter to find the precept that the brother was looking for.
Bruh, this is really crazy, bruh, because I got First Timothy 3:25. Ain't no 25 though.
Maybe you meant First Thessalonians.
Not, I mean, I got Thessalonians on here too, but
I don't even know if there's a 25 in Thessalonians. First Thessalonians 3.
Stop skipping orientation, brother.
Brother just skipped orientation. He didn't skip. Hey, look, this is a lesson learned in itself, man. When you going through when you writing down notes, you know what I'm saying, and you thinking about scriptures to use to edify people. Hey, sometimes it pays to read. You know what I'm saying?
man,
It pays to read that course training, right? That's your
man.
job.
So check this out. I have First Timothy 3:25 written down. I forgot to put the hyphen. I meant First Timothy 3, verse 2 through 5. Man, Salaki, man. Man, I hope that didn't disrupt the flow of this live, man, because this is good stuff right here. Right. So now we talked about personal self-awareness, self-discipline, and that aspect of getting your personal house in order. Now we're gonna move into in-house stuff, right? In-house stuff, family stuff, right? Um, and we're gonna touch on. I'm gonna bring this precept out first, but we're gonna get into all aspects of in-house, you know, festivities. But if a brother could read this for me, this is First Timothy chapter 2, and we're gonna read through verse 5.
First Timothy chapter 2. Con. This is 2 and 2.
Con 3 and 2.
Salakia, First Timothy chapter 3 and verse 2. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife.
Stop right there, right? So for all those guys out there that says that your auntie, your grandma, your mom is a bishop of the church, madness. It says a bishop shall be blameless and what? A what?
The husband
A
of
husband. Can women be husbands? No, this is talking about a man, right? Keep reading.
vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach.
Right. This is talking about a bishop, man. It's giving you some self-discipline requirements for this leader, right? With that has this title of a bishop, right? And you can get mad all you want to, guys, but this is what the Bible is saying, right? Don't get mad with me, man. Get mad with the Bible. It says, hey man, it's advised that this person only have one wife, right? You're a leader, man. You don't want to be trying to take care of two. Look. And we're gonna get into it throughout the rest of these scriptures, but think about it. You got more than one wife, man, right? That means you got more than one family to take care of, essentially. You can't be taking care of 4 or 5 families, 4 or 5 different households, and you're in charge of everybody else's household too, bro. Just give you one household and get that in order. That way you have plenty of time to handle everybody else, right? It says be vigilant and sober, right? You got to be sharp at all times, right? Of good behavior. This is this one slept on, bro, right? Good behavior. What does good behavior look like? Everywhere you go, man, you have to be on your best behavior, right? You got to know what things not to say, what things not to do. You got to be very polite, respectable, right? Given to hospitality, you got to be hospitality minded first. When you play basketball, man, this is like a point guard. Pass first all the time. I'm gonna worry about everybody else before I get mine, right? And you got to be apt to teach. And we know what being apt to teach means. You got to pretty much have the fruits of the spirit and understand the people that you're talking to are going to be sick, right? Verse number 3.
Verse 3, not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous.
Right, man. You can't be giving it to wine. You can't have anger problems. You can't be greedy, always trying to chase a bag, right? You got to be patient. You can't be always ready to fight, and you can't be constantly coveting what other people have. 'Cause if you constantly covering what other people have, that means you worry about the wrong things, right? But we about to get into it right here. This is the point. Verse 4.
Verse 4, one that ruleth well his own house, having
One that
his
ruleth well his own house. Get your house in order. Salaki, keep reading.
having his children in subjection with all gravity.
You gotta have your children need to be right. Your children don't need to be running amok, right? And sometimes people give people flack for making sure their kids ain't running around looking crazy. They're just kids. Let them be, man. They're just having fun. Hey, look, man. They gotta be in order. They gotta be in order. Sometimes it might look rough. Sometimes it might not look fun, but it's gonna pay off in the long run, right? Get your kids in subjection. We're gonna go over what that means as well. But finish this out for me, verse number 5.
For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God?
Come on, man. This is the point. Verse number 5 is the point. Read that one more time. I wish we had a bomb button, right? Because
For
this
if
is the
the
point.
man, for if the man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God?
How can you get the church right if your house not even right, right? If you got a family, right, and your family not straight, your house ain't straight, you shouldn't be on them street corners teaching, trying to get everybody else straight. You trying to teach somebody how his wife should be treating him and how he should be treating his wife, but you don't even treat your wife good, right? You trying to tell somebody what they should be doing with their kids when you don't even do the same thing to your kids, right? Get your house in order first, and then you can go try to get everybody else straight, right? Not only will you be able to teach them uh, by word, but they can also you can also be teaching by your actions, right? We got different learners out there, but most everybody is a visual learner for the most part, right? And so, hey, look, once you have your house in order and people see, hey, look, what this man is telling me, I can see the fruits of it. It looks pretty good. I think I want to get like that, man. Then people will start taking you serious. Then you'll be more effective, right? Not only that, a lot of stress will be off for you too as well once your house is finally in order. When your children running amok, your wife is being a dragon, right? Or even if your husband is just a lion in the house, right? When you fix all these things, it eliminates a lot of stress, right? You got something to say, brother?
Uh,
Con. Moving on, we're going to go to the book of Ephesians, chapter 5. What I got, verse 22. Con, the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, and verse 22,
like,
man.
I
We're
did
still talking about getting your house in order, right? Your in house, your not your personal house, but your intermediate house, I believe they call it.
Salaki, yeah, I did have something to say since you just read that in Timothy. You know, when it says having your children, uh, what was it?
In subjection.
In subjection with all gravity. A lot of times when back in the Bible days, a lot of times when they were getting their house in order, like the first precept the brother brought out today, um, it was near death, right? Nowadays we have something called a will, but back then they would have like the final words or the final rights,
We're going to get into that, brother.
as they would say in the King's English, right? Salakia.
Good. Through
Huh?
the spirit. I said through the spirit.
But Khan, so through having your kids in all subjection, when you get your house in order when you're about to die, right? You have to trust that your kids are gonna act out whatever it is that you tell them to do because you're no longer gonna be here, right? Like Christ said, but much more in my absence, right?
Con.
So having your house in order, it is as a man, it's gonna tell you how good of a man you are. You know
Con,
why?
man.
Because you're gonna see the fruits of your labor. Are they gonna be obedient or disobedient? Are they gonna play you or are they gonna listen? Right? Because you're not gonna be here no more. So whatever you taught them, everybody's gonna see if you were really being the person that you said you were. Because everybody knows now in the world, you know, you could tell who somebody's parents are based off of their kid and how their kid acts, right?
We're gonna get into that as well. But that's a mighty point, man. A lot of times, uh, so when people like King Hezekiah said, "Go home and set thy house in order," what that typically means is, "Hey, look, I'm gonna gather all my family together, all my wives, all my children, right?" And what did Jacob say? Let me tell you what's gonna befall you in the last days before I go, right? The Most High has shown me that, hey, this X, Y, and Z is prepared for my son because of this is how you are. Your personality is gonna lead you. Your personality and your characteristics is gonna lead you down this path, right? And these are kind of like fair warnings. And not only that, they hand down inheritances and they hand down blessings. And this is a very serious thing, right? Um, we see it with Jacob and Esau, right? It's a very serious matter when you setting your house in order and you handing down these things. Spiritually, we got to do the same thing for our nation, though, right? When we setting our house in order, we're handing down our heritages, we're handing down our what does it say in I believe in Deuteronomy that we should teach them these laws, statutes, and commandments, right? They're inheriting these things, right? A culture, a heritage, right? Handing down blessings to them. It's the same thing, man. This is what it means to set your house in order. But before you do that, there's steps that you have to do. One, you got to do a personal check, self awareness, and then you got to get your intermediate house in order, right? And that's what we're going over right now. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, and verse 22. This is a classic passage as well.
Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 22. Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord.
Right, man. Wives, you got to submit yourselves unto your husbands, man. It might be hard to do, depending on which man you have married, but you have to do it when it comes to moving in order, man, and getting your house together, and getting your house in order, right? It'll make a lot of things a whole lot more easier, man. If you want to roll your eyes and if you got to roll your eyes, when no one's looking and stuff like that, by all means, go ahead and do that. But always being subjected to your own husbands, man. Keep reading.
For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the savior of the body.
Right, man. Your husband is the savior of the body, man. What does this look like, right? Always respect him, always being subject to him, because he can, especially when it comes to these scriptures, man, right? How I want to put this that's not offensive to women that doesn't sound misogynistic, man. I just gotta say it plainly. Um, the Most High is really giving the majority of those spirits of understanding of the Bible to men, right? And for a purpose, right? And so that man is supposed to guide you. That man is supposed to teach you, right? Things that are beneficial for you, for your salvation, things of that nature. Not only that, I think we're gonna keep reading. I'm gonna get into it. Read verse 24 real quick.
Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything.
Right. Keep reading. Here's the point I was gonna make.
Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it.
Right, man. It's a two-way street. With that subjection and with that respect that you give to your husband, you're doing this because your husband, one, he can he has I'm trying to figure out how to say this the right way, but he has guardship and care over your life when it comes to your salvation. He's not going to lead you astray, hopefully not, right? But also your husband is the one that's going to lay his life on the line for you no matter the cost. He should anyways, right? We talk about the scenario all the time. Somebody breaks in the house, who's going out to check, right? Who's leaving the room to go check? Your husband is. Have respect for that man, being subject to him because he's willing to put his life on the line for you at any cost, at any moment, right? And that's an honorable thing. That's that alone should require your respect. I don't even care if he's lazy, right? He shouldn't be lazy, but I don't even care if he's lazy because if he has his in his brain that he's willing to die for you at any time, that's an honorable thing, and he deserves respect, right? We go down a little bit. We're gonna start at 28, right?
So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself.
Right, man. Men, you have to love your wives like you love yourselves, right? You can't be a lion in the house, right? We just read a scripture where it says you can't be given into anger. You can't be a brawler, right? Don't be beating on your wives, right? You don't be beating on yourself, right? You got some anger, go take it out on the heavy bag or something. Um, love your wives as you love yourselves. That's why it should never be a misogynistic type of scenario because anything that you're doing or telling to your wife should be the same things that you would do and tell yourself. Should all be out of love, right? And it's just getting your house in order, right? Keep reading.
For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it, even as the Lord the church.
Right. You can't hate something and love it at the same time, right? If you hate it, you hate it. You can't hate something or say you love something and show it hate all the time, right? That's just madness. You need help, right? Keep reading.
For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones.
Con. Um, we can read verse 31, and
For
then we're
this
gonna go to
cause
verse
shall
32.
a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh.
Hey man, this is very important for getting your intermediate house in order as well, right? You gotta understand when to leave your mother and your father, not just physically, right? But mentally, emotionally, even when you go for making decisions and things of that nature, you and your husband or you and your wife are now the team. No more should you be constantly letting your parents weigh in on every single matter of your life anymore, right? Getting your house in order is getting to the point where both you and your wife can rely on each other without anybody, and you guys can make smart decisions by yourselves without receiving opinions of other people, mainly your fathers and your mothers in the world, right? Because let's be honest, man, a lot of our relationships, especially now, are ruined by mothers and fathers, man. You know, and they don't mean any harm, but at the end of the day, you gotta understand how to make the separation when it comes to dealing with your wife or dealing with your husband. Y'all gotta do what's best for y'all, right? Y'all two are now one flesh. You gotta move as one and stop allowing yourself to be torn apart by family members, right? Verse number 33 for me.
Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself.
Come,
And the wife see that she reverence her husband.
come, man. Come. And so we're gonna go to the book of Sirach, chapter 30. We're gonna touch on children really quick. Um, we're gonna go over, the son and how to get your son in order really quick. Let's see here. Ecclesiasticus chapter 30. This is one of my favorite scriptures, one of my favorite chapters, man. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 30, and we can start at verse 1.
Verse 1, he that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end.
Right, man. This is going into raising up a young man. A young man, just like anything, right? A young man, a young male dog, a male horse, right? You have to cause him to feel that rod from time to time, right? Keep reading.
He that chasteneth his son shall have joy in him.
Why? Because hey, look, it might be hard at first, but hey, that rod, that belt, you're gonna find joy in your son afterward, in the aftermath. I received whippings and spankings when I was growing up, right? And I believe my parents are now, enjoying, the fruits of that correction. As me, I mean, I can't speak for them, but I think I turned out all right, right? You're gonna enjoy that correction in the long run, and shall what?
And shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance.
right? And you shall rejoice among. Hey, look, now that's this, you know what this looks like when your parents go out and they start bragging on you all the time. You're grown as heck right now, but they still bragging on you, right? You know, that's when that true joy comes in from that correction when he was little. Verse number 3 for me.
He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy.
Hey, right there, man. As black men in America, when I say black, I'm talking about Hispanics and Native Americans too. When you teach your son the right things, it's gonna grieve the enemy, right? Our oppressor. It's gonna grieve him that he grew up to be a respectful, wise, understanding young man that's not into folly, right? That's not trying to be a gangster or a thug, right? It's gonna grieve the enemy because that's what the enemy wants for your child, right? Keep reading.
And before his friends he shall rejoice of him.
Right. And before his friends, he's gonna rejoice of him, man. You know? Verse number 4.
And Khan, spiritually getting your house in order would be like the Most High God unlocking this book to you, giving you spiritual eyes to see and teaching you the enemy, spiritual demon Satan and the devils, right? They hate the fact that you learn in the Bible. They hate the fact that you're being taught. And that goes on to play out in the physical, like the brother said, with your oppressor. He hates the fact that your father is teaching you, right? And guess what? Your father, he's going to rejoice, right? Amongst all the nation of all the kids that he taught, right?
Right.
Verse 4, though his father die, yet he is as though he were not dead.
This is what the brother Azrael was just going into, right? when you when I'm dead and gone, right? I should be straight knowing that I got my house in order and my kids, will do the things that are required of them without me having to tell them. Right? Though his father died, yet he has yet he is as though he were not dead. He carries on just like his dad was still around. Right? Keep reading.
For he hath left one behind him that is like himself,
No, like herself.
like himself.
Like himself. A mini me, right? This is a good thing. A lot of times we get into this world, man. Hey, look, man. Hey, people be throwing flat. We be doing those gender reveals. I think I sent one to you guys recently. We do gender reveals, and sometimes men are a little disappointed when they ain't got a little son coming into this world. And it's all nature. It's natural, right? It says he has one like unto himself. Is this talking about a daughter right here? Is it saying a daughter is going to be like himself? No, it's not. Is he saying is this to say that he doesn't love his daughter? No, it's not. But it's something about having a little mini me, right? I have somebody that's like myself. When I'm dead and gone, I know he's gonna protect my wife and his wife. I know he's gonna keep this house running, right?
Right.
We walk in Yellowstone.
He's
He's,
gonna
he's searching for one of his sons to step up to be just like him, and then none of them want to step up. That's a reproach.
and not only to protect his wife, but to protect his siblings as well. He's looking for somebody to protect his daughter like he would protect his daughter. Look out for his daughter, and if her daughter's to get married, make sure she's getting married to the right person. He wants somebody to think just like he would, and that's that's spiritual.
Inheritance too. Not to cut you off, brother. I'll let you finish real quick. But it protect his inheritance too, and not sell it for a morsel of meat.
Right. And that's spiritual because the Most High God is our Father, and He's looking for us to be circumcised in heart so that He doesn't always have to literally show us signs and interrupt our life and chastise us, right? To get us to do what He wants us to do, right? He wants us to be able to chastise ourselves. He wants us to have a mind like Him, right? Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ, right? He wants us to be circumcised of the heart and get our house in order spiritually so that guess what? It was like he was not dead, right? People should know about Christ, but Christ's actions should still be here on the earth, right? Because why? He left behind 12 that should have been like himself. And that 12 should have turned into 24. The 24 should have turned into 48, right? You should always supposed to be like the parable says, multiplying what he gave, the talent that he gave you. You know what I'm saying? As if he was not even here.
What's that country song, man? With that little boy. You know your favorite country song, man.
Um, I've been watching you, Dad. Ain't that cool?
Yeah, I've been watching you, Dad. Ain't that cool? I'm a buckaroo. I want to be like you and eat all my food and be as strong as you are. It even goes into that in that song. He talks about some. He walked into the room and seen his son on his knees with his little hands together praying because he's seen his father do that. Right? It's something when you get your personal house in order. Right? We talked about this being a living example. Right? Then it makes it a whole lot easier to get your intermediate house in order, right? The brothers, both the brothers on the live right now got sons, right? And best believe they're getting to the point right now where them sons are gonna start looking at them, and they're gonna want to have little mini me's, right? You
Hey,
know,
look, I didn't already show my son, you know, it ain't no. I mean, of course, he'll learn how to do other things later, but like, if I like say what's up to him, he would kind of like say what's up back, you know. But that's why it's important, just to piggyback, that's why it's important to understand, like Proverbs 20:26, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it, because it's just like the country song. Once you get your house in order, you know what I'm saying. When your kids get of age of understanding, they'll start repeating those same righteous acts. And most high forbid, but if you do end up leaving this earth, your child now, you know what I'm saying, your son, hey, look, it'll please you knowing that when you gone, your son will be able to fulfill the role that you know what I'm saying, was supposed to fulfill outside of uncovering, you know what I'm saying, your mother's nakedness. But
right? Man, and it's just so beautiful and deep where it says, "Yet he as though as if he were not dead, because he has left one behind that's just like him, that's gonna make the same decisions that he would have made, right? That's gonna say the same things that he would have said." Right? Do the same things that he used to do. And that's just beautiful, man. Verse number 5.
While he lived, he saw and rejoiced in him, and when he died, he was not sorrowful.
Right. When he died, he was not sorrowful, man, because he understood it was his time to go. But he knew that he was always going to be with him because he he imparted his soul into him. Really. You know what I'm saying? Of course there was a grieving stage and things of that nature, but he'll always be there because he was around to teach him the ways of being just like him. So even in his own actions, he's gonna remember his father, right? Um, right here, verse 6.
He left behind him an avenger against his enemies, and one that shall requite kindness to his friends.
Right, one that's gonna stick up for his friends, be there for his friends, right? And one that's gonna be a reproach to his enemies. Just like today, man. Um, we see some movies where you train up your kids and they go out into the world, and then they bring back for black people they bring back a white girl, right? And you might think, man, it's always about race. Even for white people, man, that white girl go out and bring a black man back home, hey, it's a reproach, right? Because just being honest here, man, our oppressors are our enemies, right? You want to keep that and perpetuate that. The Most High God, right? The Most High God, if He says, "Hey, don't go messing with these other nations," and you go mess with these other nations, didn't He get mad, right? If the Most High God said, "Hey, there are enemies," He does not expect you to go make friends with them. And y'all know that too. We have personal feelings, right? Even when we was in high school, man. Whether you broke up with a girl, you got an ex girlfriend, or you got a homeboy that did something shisty, right? If your friends go and still cool with your ex, they still cool with that dude that did something shisty to you. It's a reproach, man. Right? It's the same thing, man. But this is saying, hey, look, you train a child the way it should go. Hey, he's gonna be a reproach to your enemies, your oppressors, right? And he's gonna be a kind friend to your friends. Even when you're gone, your your dad's old friends might need some help changing the tire, might need some help around the house. You're gonna be there for them, right? And that's a beautiful thing. We got to get back to that, right? Um, you can read 7 and 8, and I'll move on to the next point. Keep the blood pure, con sis.
He that maketh too much of his son shall bind up his wounds, and his bowels will be troubled at every cry.
right, man. You don't want to spoil your kids, right? Don't blow, hey, don't puff their minds up, right? His bow shall be troubled at every cry. What does that mean? Every time they crying, you tend it to them. I was watching a man, right? I wish I had the video, I'd play it, but his name is David Goggins, right? A lot of people might know who David Goggins is. He's known to be the toughest man on the earth, right? He's been through a lot of crap in his life. He said when he received that it was like a Nobel Prize or something for being the toughest man on the earth. In his speech, he said, I want to give all this credit to my mom, because when I was at a young age and my dad wasn't around, every time I fell, she always made me get back up. Every time I would cry, she would never come running to my rescue, letting me know that there's going to be times where I'm going to have to get up on my own, right? You have to evaluate as a man, right? As a woman, and you're trying to get your house in order, you got to evaluate certain situations when you're raising your children, right? And we all are kind of going through this right now. Every single cry is not an SOS cry. Sometimes they got to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Every single cry is not an SOS cry. And sometimes you aiding to every single cry can be detrimental, just like this. And his bowels will be troubled at every cry. He that maketh too much of his son. What does that mean? Don't put your sons on a pedestal, right? It might be the best thing that ever happened to you in your life. Might be your first son. Don't put your son on a pedestal and cater to that man, no matter what age he is, right? I don't care if he's 2 months old, right?
Hey, look, check this out. If you watch Game of Thrones, right? She had her son, right? Her husband died. Her son rose up. She put she put all her trust in her son. She knew her son that wasn't ready to be a king yet, but she loved her son so much she upheld him, and she made too much out of her son. And guess what she had to end up doing? Cleaning up his wounds when he did too much and the people turned against him, right? His bowels will be troubled at every cry. He ended up being poisoned by the people, right? And
He ran to her for every little thing.
right.
Hey, if I can pull out a precept, I want to get First Kings chapter 1, and we can start at verse number 1.
Can we finish this one out real quick?
Yeah,
Just got one more verse, and it's pretty much going into the same thing, so it's not gonna mess up your train of thought.
And horse not broken becometh headstrong, and a child left to himself will be willful.
Right, man. You can't let them. So at the same time, there's balance, right? Don't run to him for everything, but don't also let him be on his own the whole time, right? A horse not broken becoming headstrong. You leave a horse alone by itself too long, right? Without attending to it and without checking up on it from time to time, the moment you're gonna want to try to ride him, he's not gonna have it, right? You're gonna become headstrong. Same thing with a child, right? So don't attend to him for every little thing, but make sure you're present enough to for him to know that he has to act a certain way and that he can be corrected, right? And that he's gonna be in subjection up to you. If not, he's gonna be that son is gonna be headstrong. He's gonna do what he wants to do. I had a not to be long winded. I'm gonna get to the brother's precept. But I had a boss in the world, and he always kept complaining about how every week, man, his son was doing something, and pretty much telling him, "Screw you," I'm gonna do what I want, right? And that's because his father was always working, right? He was never there. He was always working. Always left him alone to try to figure out things by himself. So there's a balance to things too, right? Not only do you don't want to attend to them every time they cry. You don't want to spoil them, but you also want to be present enough for them to get that order, right? What's the precept that you want to get to?
If you could, hold on. Can I do something real quick? Can I share my screen?
Sure. Hold up.
I want you to stay right there in Ecclesiastes 30 though.
Okay, Con.
Because I wanted to line up something real quick. It's just gonna be a quick point. I'm gonna share my screen until I got First Kings pulled up.
Con.
Right. But let me show this real quick. And Salaki, like I said, Salaki, if I sound far away, my headset broke and I'm waiting on a new one to come in, right? But going back into understanding about, not being a man and, kind of aiding to your sons every cry, right? This is First Kings 1, and I'm gonna start at verse 1 real quick. And it says, now King David was old and stricken in years, and they covered him with clothes, but he got no heat. So pretty much, hey, he's on his way out, right? Wherefore his servant said unto him, let there be sought for my lord the king a young virgin, and let her stand before the king, and let her cherish him, and let her lie in thy bosom, that thy lord may get heat, right? So they're doing these things for King David, right? And pretty much, everybody know he's going to die, right? So jump down to verse 5. It says, then Adonijah, the son of Haggith, exalted himself, saying, I will be king. And he prepared him chariots and horsemen, and 50 men to run before him. So now he's exalting himself, right? Hey, look, the Most High said, hey, look, whoever exalts himself will be brought down to a lower state. Now, if you keep reading the book of 1 Kings, 2 Kings, you'll see exactly how he got brought down. But I want to get to the point. Verse number 6. And his father had not displeased him at any time in saying, why hast thou done so? What this is saying right here is pretty much his father never confronted him or told him like, hey, what is you doing? He like never checked him. He never gave him a reality check, right? Why have you done this? And he also was a very goodly man, and his mother bare him after Absalom, right? So this is what happens when you begin to, going back to, now if you can go back to Sirach 30 real quick. I'll stop my screen share real quick. If you can go look at verse number 10. It says right here, it says, laugh not with him, lest thou have sorrow with him, and lest thou gnash thy teeth in the end, right? Verse number 11, give him no liberty in his youth, and wink not at his follies, right? Part of setting your house in order is being a man is providing that righteous correction, right? I don't love my son if I never teach him right from wrong. If he exalts himself and I never check him, now I'm winking at his follies. Then he exalts himself and he gets destroyed later on by the Most High. Well, eventually King Solomon, the real king. But
hey, look, check this out, right? It says, laugh not with him, lest thou have sorrow with him, right? It's talking about at the end of the day, you're going to have sorrow with him. And we see this a lot, man. It's a TikTok generation right now. We got all these kids doing madness on these TikToks, right? And we got all these parents laughing with them. We got little girls shaking their butt on Instagram. We got little men, our young men, little boys receiving girls dancing on them and stuff like that, and people laughing and all that stuff, right? It says, lest thou have sorrow with him. Don't be mad when he grows up and he becomes a player. Don't be mad when he grows up and he has 30 kids before 18. Don't be mad when he grows up and he's a murderer. He's in jail, right? There's another video. There's a little boy going around, man, and people was laughing. He up on here they got this little boy making a song talking about something. I want to kill my mom. I want to kill my dad. I want to kill my granddad. And they're laughing about this. Don't be mad. Don't be mad when he grows up and he actually kills one of y'all. Don't be mad.
Hey, look, verse number 12. Bow down his neck while he is young, and beat him on the sides while he is a child, lest he wax stubborn and be disobedient unto thee, and so bring sorrow to thine heart, right? And we got to stop with this, passive aggressive parenting. I'm not saying I have a sister, my sister-in-law, right? She works with children, and she's always talking about alternative ways to raise children, right? That is great, because it's not all the time that you need to beat your child. It's not all the time that you need to yell, raise your voice. A lot of times in our community, especially, we can solve a lot of problems by sitting down, explaining to our children right from wrong before taking affirmative action, right? The Most High did that with us. He didn't just start kicking our behinds before he gave us the commandments. No, he laid the commandments out, told us to follow them. And then when we did against what he instructed us to do and explained us to do, that's when he started chastising us. Hey, look, but when it comes to understanding, after you giving your children the instruction and they disobey you, hey, you got to do these things, because the same way Adonijah was exalting himself in 1 Kings chapter 1 and verse number 5 is what happens when right here, when you don't do these things, when you don't set your house in order, when you don't be a man and you don't teach your children the right thing to do. Your children begin to rule. Hey, like it says in Isaiah 3 and 12, as for my people, children are their oppressors, right? Your child will oppress you. because now you're serving unto him. You're trying to make your child happy. The child start crying, you're running. You begin to, even with mothers sometimes, you begin to now be a servant unto your child instead of unto your husband, like the Most High said to do. And that's
man.
why this is important. In Sirach 30 is a mighty point. But how you?
Right, you know what I'm saying? That's why you can't wink at their follies, man. A lot of times, little kids be doing the same little stuff, and you know, you might be like this. You might be on your phone, and they might say something out the side of their neck or sideways, and you just kind of pause and you just shake your head. No, you got to handle that right then and right there, right? I like the points that the brother's bringing out, man. You say you got to bow down his neck sometimes, man. You got to let him know, hey, look, you know, when you train the horse, one of the first thing they tell you to do when you train the horse is to get them trained to lower their head whenever you're around, right? It's subjection, right? Verse number 13 is mighty too. Chastise thy son and hold him to labor, lest his lewd behavior be an offense unto thee. Hold him to labor. Give these kids something to do at all times. If you leave them alone, if you leave them alone for too long, they're gonna find some mischief and folly to get into. Give them tasks to do at all times. If it's a man, especially if they're little boys and whatnot, hey, it's time to be a man, man. Hey, go out there and cut the grass, right? Give them something to do at all times, man. Right? This is just letting you know how to get your house in order. We went over a wife, right? Right, wife and husband. Now we're going over a son, and we're about to get into how to raise up our women, right? Our daughters, right? What did the sister put on comment?
She said, much physical punishment with no explanation of the lesson will make up wrath in their heart if it's most of the time.
Come on, man.
And
right.
And I wanted to say that, you know, that's true because, like I said, nobody's saying you don't need to physically punish your children, right? Because, hey, spread a rod, spoil a child. Like you just said in Sirach 30, you got to do that because it instills in them a level of respect and it'll teach them discipline. But at the same time, if you're going to be the type of parent to be, you know what I'm saying, an authoritarian in a sense of, you know, physically disciplining your children, you have to be just in explaining to them why they're being disciplined and what they should do to prevent this happening again. Because it makes no sense if I whip my child every day of the week over and over again for doing wrong, and I'm not explaining to them what did they do wrong. How can we make this better? Sometimes you got to sit down and have conversations with your children and ask what's going on. Hey, what is it that I need to do better as a parent to be able to help you understand the instruction that I'm laid out? And people thinking that's going into submitting to your child. No, that's just going into being a better judge, right? Because you got to be able to understand. You have to be able to make sure your children understand what you learn. That's why it goes back to the precept in Hebrews 5. At the time ought to be teachers, went on to teach you again. Just because you're a parent doesn't mean you're very well taught. Sometimes you can do the thing wrong way. So you got to learn to do the things right, right? It's a just balance. The sister just said that. It's a just balance.
Come on, man. And so correction is just that. Correction is an aftermath, right? After some, and it goes into play when somebody should know right and wrong in a certain situation, right? And a lot of times, you know, if we're just being honest, correction isn't laid forth. A lot of times correction is laid forth at the right times, right? And a lot of people just choose not to see that. And when I say that is this, because look, check this out. If I have a son or a daughter, and say she's 1 or 2, and she keeps going over to unplug a cord or put a cord in her mouth, and I keep telling her to stop. After about that second or third time, I say stop. If I give her a little pop on the hand every time she touched that cord, that's correction, right? A lot of times we don't know not to touch the stove until the stove, you know, gets us burnt. And I say that to say that physical correction, that rod, is gonna teach a lot as well, right? Like the book of Proverbs says, they're not gonna die, but a lot of times that pain is a good teacher as well, right? And check this out. I can sit her down and I can talk. I can sit her or him down and I can say, "Hey, look, you don't want to put that in your mouth because you're gonna get electrocuted." I can do that all I want to, but as a 2 and a 3-year-old, they're not gonna comprehend stuff like that. So a lot of times that's when that correction comes in, right? That pain comes in and it lets them know. And then when they get of age to know why, oh, that's why my dad didn't want me to put that in my mouth because he didn't want me to die, right? So it's a just balance of everything. You gotta, as a parent, you have to be able to weigh your options and to make those decisions, right? But again, that starts with what? Getting your house in order, and then getting your personal vessel in order. Make sure you're just. Make sure you have patience. Make sure you have clear thought and clear eyes to see and to judge certain circumstances, right? That you're not giving into anger. That you're not a lion. That you can make just calls for those decisions, right? We're gonna go into raising daughters now, right? The book of Sirach, chapter 7 and verse 24. Damn, my reader done left, man. I don't know what he's doing.
I got you.
Dang, both of them. All right. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 7 and verse
I
24.
was trying to get this this computer thing situated, but this is Sirach 7 and 24. And it says, Hast thou daughters? Have a care of their body, and shew not thyself cheerful toward them.
Right, man. It's the same thing for the sons is the same thing for the daughters, right? When you have daughters, man, you want to have care of their body. A lot of people be like, man, it's misogynistic. I seen some video on social media where the dude was like, if you're worried about what your kids have on when you have company, then apparently you got the wrong company over. No. How about you make your kids put some clothes on, right? Have care over their body. There's another situation with the brother Ti, right, where he was going to the gynecologist with his daughter, right? And he was just trying to make sure everything was intact, right? Because he had care over his daughter's body. This was a thing of old, and now today, we got the Me Too movements and the my body, my choice type of things and all this stuff. The Bible doesn't support all that stuff. The as a husband, as a father, you're supposed to have care over your daughter's body. Point blank. Period. It says, "Show not thyself cheerful toward them." Right. Don't always be happy and sunny and daisy all the time. Right. And as men with our daughters, we typically like to do that. You know what I'm saying? We let mom be the bad guy, and then and every time daddy's around, man, he's that knight in shining armor. And sometimes we got to cut a lot of that stuff out as well, right? Verse 25.
Verse 25, Marry thy daughter, and so shalt thou have performed a weighty matter, but give her to a man of understanding.
Right, man. You want to be able to marry your daughter off, man. This is a good thing, right? And this is a weighty matter, man. Some people can't marry their daughters off. Sometimes their daughters grow up to be a reproach, to be not likable, right? This is a good thing though when you can marry your daughter off, but you want to give her to a man of understanding. What does that mean? Even all the way up until the point where she's old enough to get married, you're supposed to have care over her, right? Um, let's see here. There was one scripture I wanted to get where it said, if your wife, if your daughter was into whoremongering, to keep her in straightly, right? I thought it was in this passage, but I guess not. But just to go into that too, man. Hey, man, if you see your daughter get into a bunch of mischief, you're starting to see the signs where your daughter is getting into, lewd behavior, or she's moving fast. Don't be afraid to keep her in. How if you leave a man alone too long, you leave your son alone too long, he's gonna get into some folly and some madness. So you always gotta give him tasks to do. Same thing with the daughter, man. You know what I'm saying? If you start seeing these behaviors, start giving her stuff to do. Start keeping tabs with her. Keep her in straightly. You might have to put a lock on the windows or two, right? Um,
Time.
but yes,
I'm going to make a quick point too, sidebar, but it's kind of crazy how I just thought about what you just said. Like, people was really nailing T.I. to the cross for making sure his daughter's hymen was still intact. Yet they praise Dwayne Wade for what he's doing with his son Zion. It's crazy. And it's just like, that's just madness to me, because T.I. is literally moving more by the scriptures than what Dwayne Wade said. Yet Dwayne is getting all the praise for being a better parent. People calling T.I. controlling. No, he's doing exactly what Sirach 7 is saying. You know, hey, we got to make sure we're taking care of our daughters, man, because I'd be a plump fool if I let my daughter grow up here to be anything that I see in this world. You know what I'm saying? I do my dang best. Most I will.
Con, man. Con, right? Um, and so let's see here.
Salaki,
And I
you know,
know,
back in the day, they would um test their daughters if they had suspicion, man. If they had suspicion, man, they'd test their daughters, even if they thought their daughter was playing the part of a whore, right? They give their daughter that little portion that's in like what Numbers 5:5, that little portion to see if her stomach will rot, man. Because it was a serious thing, man, to keep your daughters pure. Nowadays, nobody care about keeping their daughter pure. They care about make sure you give it away to somebody you love. I know what's gonna happen. Just make sure you stay protected. No, how about you don't do it unless I approve of the man that you're going to marry? But
Right.
nowadays that sounds like the brother said, controlling, and nowadays that sounds cultish because we everybody has their own truth. Everybody has their own life experiences, and you
Right.
know, yeah.
Like you said, like somebody said on Facebook one day, they was like, man, I don't want to be the parent to teach my children about safe sex. I want to be the parent to teach my children don't have sex until you get married, right? Until you know this is who I'm gonna be with for life. Keep them legs closed because you don't want to be giving your body over to a multitude of men talking about, oh, I ain't had my whole phase. That is so stupid to me. But
Con, Con, and we're gonna read. This is Sirach chapter 26, 10, 11, and 12. We're gonna finish out on this on the daughter, and then I'll probably do a part two. I see time kind of short on time right now, man. We'll do a part two, Lord willing, hopefully on Wisdom Wednesday. In the part two, we'll go into getting the nation, getting your house in order in the aspect of our nation, right? Today we touched on personal, right? Your self awareness, self discipline, getting your personal house in order, and your intermediate house in order. So like your husband, your wife, and as far as your children, being fathers and mothers, things of this nature. We're gonna finish out on the daughter real quick. This is some mighty precepts right here as well. We went into the son. We're going over the daughter right now, right? It's 26, verse number 10.
all right, this is Sirach chapter 26, verse number 10. And it reads, if thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty.
Right, man? Keep her in, bro. A lot of people be like, hey, man, she gonna do what she gonna do. No, keep her in. As long as she's living underneath your roof, you got say so, right? Hey, and a lot of people be kicking their kids out when they start to do bad things. That's when you're supposed to keep them in closer, right? If your daughter be shameless, keep her in straightless, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. But she come back pregnant, right? She come back, she done got beat on. She come back addicted to drugs, right?
You
Keep
know,
her in straightly.
you know, a lot of before we came into the truth, a lot of our sisters, man, before they became new creatures, right? A lot of our sisters was lascivious out here, being this girl that had too much liberty, man. That's how America kind of um, conditions us to go to college and to have liberty at a young age. But
Just get it
all,
all out.
all those women, right? All those girls that grow up to be women who had sheltered parents that sheltered them, that kept them in straightly, right? All those women or all those girls that grew up to be women that had all that denied from them, right? By the time they're in their 20s, late 20s, early 30s, and they realize that their body's not ran through, that they don't have no disease, that they realize that they haven't been played by men and had many heartbreaks. When they realize that their parents, what their parents were doing was for their benefit, they can compare themselves to other women and say, I'm grateful for the chastisement of my parents. I'm
Right?
grateful that my parents had their house in order and they raised me according to the Bible.
I'm glad that my
That's what
I'm
we
glad,
got to do for our kids because they're gonna be able to tell the difference between light and darkness. They might not get it at first, like the brother was saying, with the baby not eating the thing that might kill them, right? But eventually, when you get old enough, you'll understand and you'll be able to see it clearly.
right. You'll be able to see the women your age and what how they're turning out, right? oh, she's in a relationship with a man beating on her because she never had a father to tell her, hey, beware of men like this before you get in. You know, take care of the signs, see the red flags, right? She never had somebody to teach her that. You're gonna see the women that end up, you know, whoremongering, ending up with kids at young ages that they aren't prepared to handle, right? With diseases and things of that nature, right? Um, and so these things, of course, we have the anomalies where you know you keep them in straightly, and then you know they tend to be worse. You know they always come back later on, but for the most part, man, this wisdom is letting you know to keep her in straightly. You know, so at least she doesn't abuse herself while she's under your care, right?
Uh,
When you have that authority over them, you don't want her to go. It would be something if she goes out on her own and does that. But while she's under your supervision, under your guardianship, you want to keep her in straightly because the last thing you want to happen is that to happen on your watch, right? It's going
you
to
know, marriage back then was family building, right? It was family connection. And you got to think, even today, um, men are very thankful to the parents of the women that they chose when they find out that that woman that they chose is uh, pure, right? And they will have a lot of respect for that lady's father and her mother for raising her properly, right? And that's where, you know what I'm saying, that dowry price comes in. You could pay a dowry, but if those parents were not respectable, if that woman that you got was not what you expected, right? Guess what? That dowry don't really mean nothing, man, because you don't have no respect unto her household. But it's family building and family connections, right? When you respect the people that trained your wife, you'll always make sure they're straight in their old age as well, right? And that's what we're here for, is connecting our families back together as a nation, right? And that's part of getting your house in order. But like the brother said, we'll go over nation building at a later date.
Come on, man. Verse number 11 for me, man.
Verse number 11. Watch over an impudent eye, and marvel not if she trespass against thee.
Hey, man, you gotta watch over these little girls, man. These little girls be something else, man. You know, there's two aspects of it, right? Little girls come out with attitudes out the womb. You know what I'm saying? You know, and you gotta watch over that. You might say something, and I'm gonna go over impudent eye, right? And different aspects of it really quick. When they come out, man, you say something to them, you catch that little girl rolling her eyes, man, handle that, right? If you don't, right, she gonna trespass against you, and eventually she gonna do what you want to do. Even when you're talking about teenage girls and girls that are their hormones starting to kick in, watch over that impudent eye. You run into one of your friends in the street and they're with their son and you got your daughter with them. What's up, man? I ain't seen you in a long time, right? You know what I'm saying? This is my son. And you there with your daughter and you like, this is my daughter. You look over at your daughter giving him the eyes, right? You know what I'm saying? Watch over that. And what I'm trying to say is be aware of your children, mostly and in this aspect, your daughters, be aware of their countenance at all times. At all times. Nothing should catch you off guard. You should always be aware of how your daughter is feeling, what she is doing, right? All of these things, right? Um, verse number 12.
Verse 12. She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he hath found a fountain, and drink of every water near her. By every hedge will she sit down, and open her quiver against every arrow.
Right, man. You have to watch over her because of this, man. When them hormones kick in and puberty set in, man, hey, women want to go just as much as guys want to go, right? You gotta watch over her, man, or if not, she's gonna be given into that much liberty, right? She's gonna become a reproach to you, man, as a thirsty traveler when he has found a fountain. Think about being in the wilderness and you're starving, you haven't had nothing to drink, your mouth is dry. The moment you see water, hey, look, the moment you see water, you not and pause. I ain't mean to I ain't mean to do it like that. But
Crazy.
as a thirsty traveler, when hey man, when you finally see that water, man, you attacking it. You know what I'm saying? And we expect boys, young boys, to be on it like that and you know be on go. But as a woman, man, you're supposed to have that persistence. You're supposed to have that resistance, and you want to train your daughters to do so. You don't want them to be out here, you know, whoring around. Point blank. Period. Right.
Right. Hey, and just make a point off that, man. Pay attention to that wordplay that's in Sirach 12, man. She would open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he had found a fountain and drink of every water near her. And by every hedge will she sit down and open her quiver against every arrow. Like the brother saying, man, that whole phase. These hormones get to raging in our young people, man. And the society that we live in promotes sex, having sex so much is like they almost can't wait to get of that age and experience it, right? And
Uh,
we don't want our daughters to, and nor our sons to be out here, our sons out here sticking their manhood and everything that walketh and breatheth, and our daughters letting they self get penetrated by everything that walketh and breatheth, man.
every
We got
boy, every boy you introduce her to, right? She already on a mission. That's
right.
terrible, bro.
That
Right?
is so terrible. And that's a reproach unto you as a father, man, because hey, your daughter is a man's possession, right? That's your possession. You know what I'm saying? You can't marry her off to everybody because I mean you can't marry her off because then somebody you know what I'm saying or know about her they'll be like oh I heard about her can't do it. Like you said earlier, like we read earlier, marrying your daughter off, hey, that's a great matter. That's a weighty matter that you do that. But you can't allow her to have all that knowledge on her and now somebody having a hard time buying a used car with over 300,000 miles, man. It's crazy.
Con, you know, and when you raising both your kids, they're very observant. So, you know, some stuff that you got away with when you were young, playing certain profane music in the car because they don't understand it because they're infants. Some stuff that we watch on TV, maybe Netflix, Hulu, or Prime, right? We might get away with it. They're not even paying attention. They're playing with something on the carpet. As they get older, man, you gotta be able to chastise yourself. You gotta be able to know that if your child ends up being lascivious, a lot of times it's because of stuff that you allowed to enter into their eyesight and into their ears. So we have to chastise ourselves and we have to reteach ourselves as human beings and as adults when we become human. I mean, when we become parents, so that our kids can be grown the way that we want them to be grown.
Right, man. That's why in the previous verses, man, it says watch over an impudent eye, but you gotta watch over all their actions, man. When we're talking about being aware of them at all times, watch how she's playing with her dolls, man. Don't just wink at that folly that she does with her dolls. If you see her doing something crazy with her dolls, take them dolls away, right? You got to be aware at all times, not just with the daughter, but with the son as well, man.
Yeah,
Right? We went over,
you don't want to be that father that's 2023 America that says why don't you like playing with your soldiers? Why are you playing with your sister's Barbie dolls? Don't even ask that question. Take them
right,
Barbie dolls away from him.
right,
You
Right,
can,
bro.
as
And
parents, we can foresee what things are going to be detrimental to our kids. We have to start acting on that now that we're in the truth. That's
right,
key.
that's why I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like I say all the time, man, I always tell my wife, you know, I stop showing that boy so much attention. Stop showing that boy so much love. Like she be teaching him how to blow kisses. I be telling her stop doing that. You know what I'm saying? Even though he young, you know what I'm saying? He ain't nothing but a year old. But like I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? Because hey, I don't want my son going up and doing certain things and having certain behaviors that he learned from a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like we say, hey, we got to be, especially my sons, man. I definitely going to be a little bit more tight on them because I want them to be greater men than I ever will be, you know? And the only way we can do that is by first, like we said, throughout this whole lesson, like the brother Donald was bringing out so beautifully, is just that we first have to, first of all, get our own house in order. I got to make sure I'm straight so that way I can start making sure they straight. I got to discipline myself, you know what I'm saying, and cut out a lot of things as they get older because I don't want them to pick up on habits that they might have a harder time of escaping if they get into it versus, you know what I'm saying, me when I was into it, right? But
come,
Con,
come, man. So we went over, getting your house in order. We went over personal, like the brother just got done explaining personal And once you get your personal house in order, everything else tends to fall in place. Then you can get your intermediate house in order, right? Your wife or your husband or your kids, right? Once your kids and your family is in order, then you can start focusing on the nation. And we'll go over that next week, Lord willing, man, in a part two. Whether it be on Wednesday or Thursday, you know what I'm saying? Lord willing, we'll go into the part two of getting your house in order, and then in the aspect of a nation. Con,
God.
you got something to say? You got
Well,
something to say? Oh, okay, Con, man. With that being said, man, we've been on here for about an hour and 50 minutes. Want to say Shabbat Shalom, and again, man, I hope this was edifying. I hope everybody's working on getting our houses in order in every aspect. And with that being said, Shabbat Shalom, man. Y'all have a nice day today. Y'all rest up, and try to learn something new, right? That being said, study hard, Israel. We out of here. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.